Today, we're going to be talking about alignment in your investing strategies and your personal life as a couple. And I'm joined by my wonderful wife, Brea, today. So let's dive right into it, Brea. For the first probably 10 to 15 years of our relationship, we were not 100% aligned because you didn't know everything that was going on in our professional life. And then we started doing short-term rental and real estate investments and stuff like that. And kind of tell them how that started when we were in 30A, and that's kind of when our alignment really started to come into play, right?
Yes. We were in 30A, it's a beach town, Seaside in Florida, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And you had started talking about short-term rentals. I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, gosh, if we're going to do one, I want to be here. I want to see the ocean. I want to hear it. I want to smell it. This is beautiful. This is what I want.
So we're literally in Seaside at the pizza restaurant with our good friends William and Mary Bess, who we spent the Millennium New Year's Eve with friends from California, and he owned the Frangista Beach Resort that he knew everything about that market. So him and his family owned that. They owned like half a dozen. He bulldozed that, built almost $1 billion worth of homes and condos. Started a property management company, which has over 400 or 500 properties. And I remember him saying six, because I called him wee and I was six pack from playing professional golf in South America together. And he said, six, how much money do you have? And I said, we probably have like 125 grand. I think we had $126,000, and that was it from investable cash. And he said, well, this is not the place for you. And this was well pre-COVID. We couldn't afford to invest in 30A. And I'm talking not really Grayton Beach, Seaside, watercolor, it didn't matter, we couldn't afford. So he said we should go to Gulf Shores where we could actually invest. And so a couple of weeks later, we flew down into Pensacola, we drove into Gulf Shores. And what was your first reaction after being at Seaside and 30A for the first time?
It was not the same.
It's the Redneck Riviera.
It is. It's not, it's more just houses on the beach, whereas, Seaside has the little cute towns you can walk to, and it's just very quaint. But, it's still beautiful. The beaches are still beautiful in Gulf Shores, so absolutely.
Not only was 38 out, we had to eliminate that because we only had $126,000, but really it was because of your criteria. So when we went to Gulf Shores, you were looking for three things in a property. And this was her, not me, because here's the reason we're doing this for you. We didn't know anything at this point, right? It's not this. We're at the same level of investor, 10 years ago that we are today. Just like you guys don't know what you don't know, we didn't know what we didn't know at that point. So what was your 3 points of the criteria for the investment?
I wanted to be able to sit outside on the deck of the house, see the water, hear the waves, and smell the ocean. Those were the 3 things. Those were my musts.
See it, hear it, smell it. And that, even at that time in 30A, in Seaside and like watercolor specifically, Seagrove, that would have probably been a couple of $1 million, which is now 5 or 6 million.
Yeah.
So we were going to see 10 properties, and the first one was
Bella Vista.
The house that we bought.
The house we ended up buying, yeah.
So the first fundamental mistake that we made, and hopefully most of you guys are not making this mistake, because there was nobody like us educating at that point. There was no Mike Sjogren or TJ Tajani or Sean Raskovich or anybody that was doing the coaching stuff and the education. And so I actually found the property, the first one that we saw, and
yes, the agent didn't even see
reached out to the listing. No, the listing agent I reached out to, and I can't remember her name. It might have been Deb. It wasn't Deb Wood, but I think her name was Deb.
Yeah.
And so we ended up putting the property under contract. We bought it, and then literally we ended up working with the property management company that she was affiliated with.
Yes.
How'd that go?
Didn't go well at all.
How long did it last?
90 days, maybe 3 months tops.
And then we took over.
Yes. And the only reason we used them is because going into this, I was scared. How are we going to operate when we don't live in town? I didn't know anything about the business. And I was like, we have to use a management company. What are we going to do? And so that's why we used them. And in that time, you educated yourself beyond belief, and then we cut them, and that's when the success happened.
And it was like somewhere between 90 to 100 days. And if you go to the Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Facebook group with Bill Faith, and if you're not a member, you should join. We got 33,000 investors there. But just go to the search bar and type in Bella Vista case study, and you'll see exactly what we did with that property. It was doing like somewhere between 40, 45,000 bucks a year. They were undercharging the hardest summer, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, unbelievable views, almost beachfront, tier 2, paid $629 for it. They're charged like $2,200 a week.
Yeah.
We immediately, when I fired them, and I think it was in August, so I'm at the tail end of summer, we raised that to like $3,900 a week. Long story short, I think we did 98 grand. We doubled the revenue in the first year. Second year, we did like $112,000 because of the listing optimization, the revenue management, the marketing, all the stuff that we had to learn, right?
Yes.
So that's the problem. The second mistake really was in property number 2, because we still were not 100% aligned at that. We were aligned in the first purchase, but we were not aligned. And that was really a lifestyle asset. That wasn't a true investment, right? We were like most of you, and here's the thing, we had no business making a lifestyle asset. We weren't making enough money. It needed to be strictly financially driven. Luckily, we were able to turn that into a great financial investment.
Yes.
But property number 2 was strictly financial. We weren't going to stay there. We had nothing to do with that property. Tell them the story of where we were, how it happened.
It was not a wise decision. We were in Dallas, Texas, sitting in the stadium,
The Cotton Bowl,
ready to watch the Winter Classic, the Nashville Predators, Dallas Stars.
with our good friends Eric and Kelly Devlin,
Yep.
who own Premier of Dallas, the largest ground transportation company there.
Yes.
And if you guys ever need service in Dallas, just go to premierdallas.com.
Yes, absolutely. They'll take care of
Little
you.
shout out for our friends. They're amazing.
But, we'd had a few drinks. This random agent just in Gulf Shores happened to find his name, called him up and said, hey, I have a great investment for you. This property came on the market. I think you would do great here. And so Bill was like, okay, yeah, send me a video. The guy did a quick walkthrough with his phone.
So to be specific,
It-
we have I think we had like 2 24-ounce beers before we go in. It's freezing. It's a day like today. It was January 1st.
Yeah.
And then first period, he literally texts me and says, hey, I'm ready to do a FaceTime walkthrough. I'm like, dude, you need to freaking wait till, intermission.
Yeah.
Intermission, I literally go through the FaceTime walkthrough. I'm like, this looks really good. And he's showing me the views of the water on both sides and all that
Gulf
type of
and
stuff.
the
It's in
beach,
Fort
yeah.
Morgan. And this is a 2-2 in the western part of Fort Morgan. And it was $199,000. I said, let's make an offer. He immediately drafts up an offer. I sign an offer. I think like before the end of that intermission. By the end of the game, they accept it.
Yep.
And I do a PDF, e-sign before the end of the game.
Yep.
$199,000. Awesome. What happened next? What's my biggest weakness as a human being?
You
Wanting
like-
to help people.
You want to help people that don't want to be helped.
I just want to help people.
Yeah,
So
and-
I've been taken advantage of a few times by people.
I mean, you help and help and help and you give, and you've helped a ton of people, but there are always those moments where there's that one person that takes advantage of you and we get screwed hard. Yes,
And that was David.
that was David. When we went on our own, on Bella
away from the
Vista,
property management
for
company.
the property management company, his wife was doing our cleaning. He was our handyman. He was a contractor. He did other things as well. And he wanted to
And he did a great job.
He did a great job. They communicated great. So he said he wanted to start his own business, break away from working for others. Bill said, hey, let's do this together.
Okay, just to clarify, he had his own business, but he was pretty much exclusively working for the property management company.
Yes. And so we hired him. We said, okay. He walked through, said, oh, no problem. We can do this, expand, add bathrooms. It'll be great.
We're going to turn the 2-1 into a 3-2 and expand the deck.
Yes. We'll expand the living room onto the deck.
That's right.
Expanded the living room onto the deck, and then we're going to build another deck.
And just to make the story quicker, literally we're 9 weeks into it. I'd made one visit down there. Everything seemed to be going well.
Yeah.
And then the last 4 weeks after that visit, internet goes out. So the security cameras my ring cameras aren't working, less communicative, all that type of stuff. And then I fly back down there and I see
Find out what's
nothing's
going on.
been done. David's not communicating, and we have a freaking red tag because he violated codes and a codes enforcer was driving by. Long story short, then we end up getting hit by a hurricane, ended up losing about $75,000 to $80,000 in that property because we violated every single rule that I have for you guys today because we got lucky in the first one and we didn't know what we were doing.
Yep.
And then that's when I started seeking out people to help us. We met with Deb Wood, who made us millions of dollars over the next, 3-4 years before I
Yes.
gave her a nervous breakdown and she retired. And, we flipped houses down there. And then most importantly, this is really what the influence of John Baird, and you hear me talk about when I talk about the life plan and all those things and why every program that I have from my mastermind to my inner circle to my accelerator, we always start with that life plan, right?
Yes.
And because we have to be aligned as a couple in all facets of our lives. Are we aligned today?
Yes, 100%.
So how did we make the decision on where the next investment was going to be?
We decided to go to Smith Lake, Alabama, and because we had just gone during COVID, we had went to Yellowstone and fell in love with the trees, the mountains, the outdoors, and we wanted that. And we didn't
Because we
have
were
that
never
beach.
those people.
Yeah, growing up, we went camping here and there.
You did, I wasn't. I was a
Yeah.
golf course guy.
And so I loved it. And so when we went to Yellowstone, I fell back in love with it. And I was like, gosh, this is what I want. I think I'm a lake person.
And
not
we
a beach
invested there
person.
for a couple of reasons. Number one, I started looking immediately for properties in like Wyoming, Idaho, Montana. We really wanted to be in Montana.
Yes.
You see how many we have in Montana now today. It took me 2 years, 6 months, and like 7 or 8 days to find that first one.
First
so
one.
in the meantime, I took her to the lake that everybody where we live just south of Nashville goes to, and it was a horrible experience. The girls down there,
It was a mud pit.
it was horrible.
It was gross.
So then the investment side would be Lake Martin, which is deeper into Alabama, but we found Smith Lake. And as you know, I'm always looking for things that are unique. And it was branded as the second clearest lake in the South.
Yes.
So we actually booked the half house. I booked an Airbnb and we had a pretty poor experience there. But we rented a boat and we got to see the lake and the water was clear and it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Yep.
So that was another lifestyle asset, but the lifestyle asset also had to have a financial component. So we were aligned with location.
Yes.
We were aligned with price point. We wanted sub $500,000. I think we closed at $492, $495, $496. We ended up selling it like 2 years later for $750 or $775, and then built the big one that we have now, bought it and renovated at Sunset Point.
Yep.
So in that time frame, we became 100% aligned on what retirement means to us, on how much debt we're willing to take, and most importantly, where we wanted to invest so we could use it when
we retire.
and now, but most importantly in retirement.
Yes.
So our plan was when our youngest daughter, Oakley, goes to college, then we can travel more than we do today.
Yes.
And we wanted a lake property, we wanted a beach property, and then we found what?
Banner Elk.
Banner Elk, North Carolina.
Yep.
Thanks to Kenny Bedwell.
I'd never heard of it.
Right, neither had I.
Yeah.
At that point, thanks to Kenny Bedwell and Emil Sakal, they were both OGs, that's original gangsters in my mastermind, well before Kenny started STR Insights within the mastermind. But he was running spreadsheets and they found a hole in the market in Banner Elk that we saw as a secondary market to having to go and do the big $50,000 game rooms and all the crap in the Smokies, which we don't like because of the amount of people
Yeah, it's too
personally.
crowded, yeah.
So they send me a property, I go and look at it the very next day, and it was a little bit too run down for us. And it was in a place, Seven Devils, which I didn't like. I didn't have the long range views, all that type of stuff. It's like a little canyon going up in there. The house was okay, it had a hot tub, blah, blah, blah. But I also met Tyler Kuhn for the very first time. And Tyler, not interested. Tyler's going to drive back to Asheville. I'm driving back to Nashville. And literally I sit in the driveway and I pull up Zillow and I found something that hit as a brand new listing.
That day.
That morning, it was only up for like 40 minutes. I called Tyler, I said, hey, I texted it to him. I said, dude, I want to see this right now. Can you see if you can get us in? And Tyler works miracles, kind of like Brenna Carls does on the financing side. And literally, I think within an hour to 90 minutes, he said, yep, I'm going to get us in. We're in the property. It's probably 10 o'clock. Tyler drafted an offer, had his office do it while we were standing on the property. By noon or 1 o'clock, we had it under contract at full price. And that was the biggest investment. That was a hard thing for us to do.
Yes.
And I don't think we were 100% aligned, but she trusted me.
Yes.
That was our first purchase over $1 million. It was 1.6 million.
But you wanted to make sure I was on board with it. So we went back a couple days later. He came home, got me, we drove back and we saw it. And the potential was it was beautiful, and we knew we could.
There's nothing like it in
No.
that market with the long range views, and I won't go into detail about everything else, but you can look at Elk Lodge, go to Favorite Friday in the group, click on my profile, and you can see what I'm talking about. So my point here is that was the Montana replacement, because there I've been looking for a year, and I still hadn't found anything in Montana, right?
Yep. And we weren't going to settle.
Correct.
We wanted the house in Montana. So yeah.
Here's the reason why that $1.6 million investment was so hard for her, is because you still thought we were kind of poor from our experience in 2010.
I was scared to move on after that.
Well,
house.
and let me explain to you guys, in 2010, really, we struggled because I was in the ground transportation space, had a great company, coming out of COVID. It's freezing. I mean, I'm cold. I need to put my hands back here and warm up. By the way,
Nashville.
yeah, this is not our Montana property. This is our primary home, and it's freezing out here.
It's freezing.
We just thought it would be cool to come out here and film the podcast out here versus being inside. Mistake. So I don't want to say that you thought we were poor, but because of the way that you were raised and how your father, God rest his soul, he passed away last week, managed his money, and he had all of his money in one investing account to where your mother could see it, and as an adult you knew what was there, and it was over $1 million, $1.1 million, right? Mm-hmm. And they've been retired for 20 years almost, drawing off of that account, but you saw everything in one spot, and you couldn't see that with us. So you were always afraid. You always would default back to that thinking we were poor.
I thought, how are you going to buy this? We don't have any money in our bank account. I don't understand. We don't have the money. And so he finally explained it to me because of the mentality I grew up with my dad in the old school way of doing things. He explained to me how each house was an investment and we were building the equity, and that was where our money is,
and
our
the cash flow.
And the cash flow that was coming in. Once he explained that to me, it clicked. I had this aha moment. I was like, this makes sense now. But I was so scared to keep moving forward. I didn't know what was going on. Once he explained it to me and I understood it, that's when it all came together, and I was like, all right, we've got this. You want to buy more houses? He explained the tax benefits, all those things. So I was like, yep, let's keep going.
The interesting data point I'll share with you on that property is we did an interest-only loan. So we have paid no principal down on that property, but we have an account with over $200,000 in it, which offsets, the principal payments over that period of time, right? So that's super important. That property now is worth about $2.1 million. We still owe $1.6 million, on that debt. So we built $500,000 in equity. We did do a DSCR product, but we also have that $200,000, sitting on the side as well. So there's really, if you're going to do an interest only, my point here, and Chris would be mad at me because I always end up going into education mode. If you're going to do an interest only, you always need to create a kitty, Delmer, or another account, and you need to accrue the principal on your own. Does that make sense? Or else you could end up in a very bad position.
Yeah.
So once you understood the finances, then you were more on board with the investing side of it, right?
Yes, and I understood with what Deb Wood explained to us in my very first house, what we sold, was very emotional. I didn't want to let it go. She explained, there's always going to be a better house out there, a better investment. And once I figured that out, it was easier for us to say, hey, we need to let this property go so we can invest it to another property and build our portfolio. Now I'm like, all right, let's do it. I don't think about it as an emotional thing anymore.
Let's talk about that for a second, because really the tipping point, the catalyst for us to build what we have today comes off that very first beach house.
Yes.
Bella Vista, in Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan technically. And it took Deb Wood and myself 5 to 6 months to convince you, and there were many nights of tears by you. You were so emotionally attached to it, for us to convince Brea to allow me to sell it for everything that you just said, right? You thought we can't replace it, there's nothing better, all those types of things. And it was emotional. And this is really important, folks, because if I would have sold that without having her on board, it probably could have caused some issues in our personal relationship. So I had to wait, and we had to convince, we had to try different ways to get her to understand that, right? And that was on Deb, and that's on me. And this started in the summer, and then it was in November that you finally got on board.
Yes.
And what brought you on board with that conversation with Deb?
When she said there's always a better house out there.
And she kind of used herself as an example. She had owned over maybe 60 or 70 short-term rentals between Perdido Key, Florida, Orange Beach, East Beach, down West Beach of Gulf Shores, and then Fort Morgan. And I think we looked at one of them too, and she's like, there's always something better than this.
And I didn't realize that it was our first house, I didn't understand the business. And then And
in 2 years, we built up almost $300,000 in equity pre-COVID.
Selling that house was the best thing we ever did for our investments in our portfolios.
What happened after we sold it?
We bought a lot in East Beach.
In West Beach.
In West Beach.
In Gulf Shores.
In Gulf Shores.
Tier 2.
Tier 2, but...
So what was unique about it? Because we only buy stuff that has something unique.
it had 4 empty lots across the street from us
That were beachfront.
that were beachfront. And so we had beachfront views which is unheard of.
How
down
many
the
other
Gulf Shores.
properties there had that?
None.
Only the shitty
the
little
two
property
house-
next
yeah,
to us.
that little
And then
house.
Sea Haven, the house that I had a friend of mine and a co-hosting client, Bill Carmen, buy.
Yeah.
So basically, the only 2 rentals were Sea Haven, Bill Carmen's that I co-host.
Yep.
And then the property that we built.
Yes.
And I'll give you kind of the specs on that. Once she released and we made the decision and we could take the equity, and this is why I harp on you guys about return on equity audits, because the cash flow out of Bella Vista was good, but the equity grew faster, right? So
Yes.
then we paid $300,000 for the lot. Deb hooked us up with Hank. We went and saw some of his houses. Unbelievable. 6-bedroom, 4-bath, and a pool for $600,000. So we used the $300,000 on the lot for the down payment, essentially, to secure the $600,000 loan. We spent $90,000 to furnish outdoor, indoor bikes, fire pit, all that indoor furnishings, all that type of stuff. So we're into this property for $990. We put $300 down on the lot. Blake Hendricks at Cahaba, when we refinanced into the permanent loan, post-construction loan, said, hey, do you want to take any more cash? I said, yeah, give me another $125,000. So we ended up with a $725,000 loan. And out of that $300 for the lot, we got to bring our $125 back for the next investment.
Yep.
But that property did $351,000 in year number 1, did $330 roughly, I can't remember the exact number, in year number 2. Year number 3, I think it did like $305, and now there's somebody building across the street from us, unfortunately. Yeah. So we are probably going to drop down to around $250 to $260. Still a really solid investment.
Yes.
And that's a property, I don't care about the return on equity. It's worth about $2 million. We will probably never, ever sell that property. You would kill me, especially after selling Little Dragonfly. So the moral of the story here, folks, is you can see some of the examples that we've given to you about our alignment and not being aligned in our professional life, but there's the whole personal life behind that as well.
Yep.
And I know you get mad at me when I get a little bit too personal, but you and I were both raised and we are not overly touchy-feely. We don't walk around holding hands, hugging, kissing in public and that type of stuff, you know what I mean? And that's the same at home too. We're not the couple that like cuddles all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because of and that's fine and it works for us, but the intimacy component to the financial side to all of those things become a really important part of the life plan and being 100% aligned.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Like you're a hot tub girl. You would sit in a hot tub and drink wine every night. And I'm on this mega health journey trying to change my life. And you remember the discussion even last night?
Yeah.
We got in the hot tub at like 7:30. I'm not supposed to drink any alcohol, any water, anything, eat anything because of my sleep issues after like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And literally we end up staying in the hot tub till 10:45, drinking 2 bottles of wine over 3.5 hours. Because she wanted to. And that was something we used to do all the time.
Yep.
But that's something where I have to give in to her. I love doing it. I know I'm not supposed to. So it was a bad night for me. I still got 6 hours of sleep. But then she has to make it up with sex this morning, before we, start our day, right? Not really make it up. But that did happen, right? So
you make it sound like it.
I know, I'm joking. But there's this give and take. So one of the other things too, in the early parts of our marriage, I travel. She's looking to see if my youngest daughter's up there listening to us. We didn't have sex as much when we were younger and married as we do now.
No, because we were so busy doing things. It wasn't.
We didn't make it a priority.
We didn't prioritize it.
And I think I didn't make it as much of a priority as you wanted it as a priority when we were younger.
Yeah.
And now we've come and aligned with that, right?
Yes.
So it's the finances, it's how we raise our kids, it's how, most importantly, how we've taken our personal life and injected it and molded it with our professional life. That's one of the most important things. I don't believe in work-life balance. I think a lot of people try to separate everything, where we have intentionally architected our professional and personal lives together, which is what all of you guys want with being able to travel the world and financial freedom. That's not a definition of retirement, by the way, in our life plan. We got to be very specific. Mm-hmm. So I want you to set dates, goals, financial goals, what retirement means to you, because there is no set plan. Retirement to what that means for us is going to be completely different for you, mm-hmm. right? That's why we have couples retreats. And that's one of our favorite things to do, is it not?
It is. It's my favorite thing we do all year. It's the couples retreat.
It's better than the conference. It's better than, a boot camp. It's better than anything
because it's a small, intimate gathering of everybody who's on the same journey, and we get to talk to each other and figure out things together and understanding each other's roles within the business. He has his roles, I have my roles, you know, and they
and in our back office, in our personal life.
Yes, so.
It's probably been the most transformational things I've ever seen, whether it's, you know, Evan and Annie or Scott and Denise, you know, the Sarvers. Just unbelievable the things that happen there. So we actually have a couples retreat coming up, don't we? When is it?
In March.
Where is it?
Whitefish, Montana.
So if you want to get aligned, if you want to have a plan for your investments, a plan for the rest of your life with specificity that's going to help you make better decisions every single day. And probably one of the most important things we do is meet every week, you know, to look at our progress, see what's happening, make changes. Join us in Whitefish, Montana, I think it's March 12th through the 14th, right? 12th, 13th, and 14th. You're going to stay at our house. There's only going to be 10 couples.
Yep.
Actually, I think it might only be 9 couples. We still have a few spots left available. And I'm going to promise you that you are going to walk out of there with a plan, and you're going to be a better husband, a better wife, a better couple, and a better investor.
Yes.
You know, as well. There's absolutely no question of that. And you're going to be in an unbelievable setting. One of the most important things, and this is why we did one in Puerto Rico last summer. We only do one a year. And it was great, but it didn't feel the same to me and you because we were at Jerry Norton's Boutique Hotel. Great spot, great hotel. But the thing that we love about being in houses like this is that we are going to eat breakfast together. We're going to fire pit together. People can't go and seclude themselves. I guess you could go sit in your bedroom, but we are doing everything together for 3 straight days.
Yes.
And we might go skiing or, you know, or do whatever. But I would give you a personal guarantee that this will be the best experience that you've ever had. And you are going to have this clarity that you didn't have before. And if you don't, I'll give you your money back. That's how confident I am. Would you agree?
Yes.
So we're both going to be there. Everything's catered. We're going to drink some great wine. I've got 2 fire pits at this house, 2 hot tubs. Whitefish is absolutely amazing. Hopefully we'll see you there in March.